Ukrainian drones attacked Russia on the night of May 3. Air defense was operating in the Krasnodar Territory, Rostov Region, and occupied Crimea. More than 15 explosions were heard in Novorossiysk, 10 over Anapa, 5 in Slavyansk-na-Kubani, and from 4 to 8 over Feodosia and Kerch. The Ukrainian Armed Forces were also accused of a combined air and water attack on Novorossiysk. More than 15 explosions were counted there, and a residential complex was damaged. Russian military personnel destroyed unmanned boats and aircraft-type drones in the Black Sea. Ukraine launches drones against Russia primarily to weaken Russia's military capabilities, disrupt logistics, and degrade assets used to support the aggression in Ukraine. Typical targets include military airfields, air defense systems, weapons production plants, ammunition depots, oil refineries, and fuel depots in occupied territories and deep inside Russia. Russian forces also claim to have intercepted additional weapons systems over the Black Sea, including 8 Storm Shadow cruise missiles and 3 Ukrainian Neptune MD guided missiles. The Defense Ministry further reported destroying 14 Ukrainian unmanned boats in Black Sea waters. The incident represents one of the largest drone attacks reported by Russian authorities in recent months, with multiple regions experiencing simultaneous strikes. On the night of May 2, Ukrainian drones also struck Russia's Zvezda space electronic reconnaissance facility in the village of Moskovskoye, Stavropol Krai. The attack targeted a key Soviet-era GRU intelligence site specializing in intercepting NATO and foreign satellite communications. The Zvezda base, operational since the 1970s and featuring a distinctive array of parabolic antennas, plays a critical role in Russia's space signal intelligence and psychological operations. Recently, drone strike targeted a key Russian electronics plant in the city of Bryansk, Russian telegram channels and a Ukrainian official claimed. Bryansk Oblast Governor Alexander Bogomaz claimed that Ukrainian forces launched a massive attack against the region. Unidentified drones targeted the Kreml plant, a major facility specializing in microelectronics for Russia's military-industrial complex, said Andriy Kovalenko, an official at Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council. The plant produces components for missile systems such as the Topol-M, Bulava, and Iskander, as well as for radars, electronic warfare systems, drones, and the onboard electronics of military aircraft, according to Russian open sources. Some days ago, Russian air defenses opened fire against drones in the Alabuga Special Economic Zone in Russia's Tatarstan, the site of a Shahid-type drone factory, independent news channel Astra reported. Astra and other Telegram channels shared purported footage of a drone being shot down. Shot channel identified the drones as Aeroprakt A-22 and UJ-22 airborne unmanned aircraft. Alabuga lies more than 1,000 kilometers from the Russia-Ukraine border. Ukrainian long-range drones struck the facility last April, aiming to disrupt Russian production of Shahids and their Russian-made variants, Garants, which are widely used in aerial attacks against Ukraine. Over 6,000 Shahid-type drones were produced in Alabuga last year, as well as thousands of decoy drones used to overwhelm Ukrainian air defenses, said Andriy Kovalenko, an official at Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council. This year, Russia aims to produce 8,000 to 10,000 Shahids/Garants and 15,000 decoys in Alabuga, Kovalenko said. As a result of the attack on Russian Novorossiysk on the night of May 3, an enemy fighter Su-30 was shot down. According to Defense Express, Russian propagandists report this. It is reported that the plane was destroyed approximately 50 kilometers from the city with the help of an unmanned boat, which was armed with an anti-aircraft guided missile of the R-73 type. The enemy admitted the loss of his plane, and here first of all it is worth noting that this is the first combat episode in history when a fighter jet and a plane in general were destroyed with the help of a surface drone armed with anti-aircraft missiles, the publication added. At the same time, it is worth noting that the enemy recognized the loss of his plane, and here it is worth noting that this is the first combat episode in history, when the destroyer and the plane as a whole were destroyed using a surface-to-air drone armed with anti-aircraft missiles. We will remind you that actually a year ago, in May 2024, for the first time it became known that Ukrainian surface drones Magura V5 began to be armed with P-73 missiles. And at the end of last year, the GUR released a video, as with the help of the Magura V5, armed with P-73 missiles, a helicopter was also destroyed for the first time in history, namely the Mi-8 of the Russian occupation army. And despite the fact that we are talking about a marine drone, the very fact that the arsenal of the ZSU has a developed solution with air-to-air P-73 missiles that have been converted to anti-aircraft missiles deserves attention. Because we are talking about Erzat-ZRK, which can be installed not only on a sea drone, but also on a ground platform. In particular, the decision to install the P-73 on the ground complex is not unique and is known since the time of Yugoslavia, where during the time of Slobodan Milosevic, the Praga series of anti-aircraft missiles were successively developed, one of which, RL-4, used the P-73, which was additionally equipped with an explosive block assembled from 6 57mm unguided rockets.
Russian occupiers may well deploy a contingent on the territory of Belarus, and Ukraine may be prepared for the fact that something may fly and crawl from there. This opinion was expressed on the air of the Espresso TV channel by a Special Forces soldier, an officer of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a People's Deputy of the 8th Convocation, Igor Lapin. At the same time, he emphasized that Ukraine will fight back and named several targets for potential defeat. As for Belarus, I think that if something flies or crawls from there, then Ukraine's legitimate targets could be the Mozyr oil refinery. They also have good chemical plants of various kinds that produce fertilizers and provide Lukashenko with the main source of foreign exchange. In my opinion, we need to be prepared for something to fly or crawl from that side, and they should understand that we will fight back, he said. The officer noted that there are 13 roads from the Belarusian direction, but in recent years, everything there should have been well mined and dug up. Speaking about the situation at the front, Lapin noted that the Russians are now actively trying to seize islands on the Dnieper in order to force the river. The defense forces are holding the lines. However, according to the officer, there are big risks in the Sumy region, where the enemy is trying to advance deep into Ukrainian territory and get closer to Sumy, so that artillery and long-range drones can reach them. Lapin says that this is a very serious problem. There have been many discussions about the threat of an attack from Belarus during the full-scale war of the Russian Federation against Ukraine. Recently, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that the Russian Federation is preparing something in Belarus this summer and is using military exercises as a cover. He noted that this is how Russian attacks begin, but where the enemy will strike this time is an open question. Ukraine, Lithuania, Poland, God forbid. But we all must be ready. All our institutions are open to cooperation, Zelensky emphasized. Retired Lieutenant General and former Deputy Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Igor Romanenko, admits that under the guise of exercises, Russia may be preparing an offensive with the participation of Belarusian military.